Hi, and welcome to the 10 square metre workshop, where today I get on with my big box build, my machinist toolbox. Two topics today. Firstly, the locks that hold the front door in place, and then all the brass hardware and feet. So let's get on with it. The door is held in position when closed by these two stops on the end of the dividers, and is locked in place by two bolts that pass down through these holes in the top. The lid pushing plungers down through. This is the mechanism used, assembled on this side and all the parts here. Lots of fiddly brass turning. To mark where in the door and the lid it should be fitted, I've made this small transfer punch out of a suitable sized rod. Drop it through the slot, hold the door in position and give it a slight tap. Same for the other side. And I've got nice clear marks. The opposite way on marks the lid. Job done. The inserts are squeezed in using a clamp. Quite firm. Originally I was going to press in the top insert too. I thought that's a bit risky, much better to be able to disassemble it. So another piece of 8mm rod and back to the lathe. So I put an 8mm thread on it with a 3mm clearance hole through the middle for the pin, parted off two pieces and put a screwdriver slot in one end. This then screwed into the top. And with that in position, closing the lid, brings the spike out. The corresponding holes for the pins are pressed into the top of the door. And after some fettling, the system's working. And finally, it's time to get rid of that Jaffa tape. The finger grip is a simple brass turning. One of the hardware items needed for a box like this are the corner protectors, the triangular bit that covers each corner. And you can buy these, but they're not very good quality. So, can I make them? I've drawn out a template on a piece of adhesive paper and I'm going to try it on this piece of 1mm brass. See how it goes. Stuck to the brass and the straight lines cut out on the bandsaw, I'm now going to try the scroll saw for these rather difficult curvy bits. Well, I'll never make a living making jigsaws, but at least it's easy stuff to file. A few minutes with the files, and it's a reasonable copy of what was intended. I'm going to need a former for this, so I shall make it out of this scrap block of alloy. Bandsawed roughly square, and then trued it up in the mill. I then formed a radius on one corner to match the wood. I'm sure there's some precise mathematics that will tell you exactly where to place it on the former, but I'm just going to do it by eye. I'm beginning to think I should have done the shaping after I'd folded it. This is all a bit experimental, so we shall learn together. Looks okay. Basic idea is there, with too big a gap, but it's about the right size. Part of the problem was the radius I'd formed was too large, so by modifying it on the unradiused corners I moved it together, and it's a better fit. I kept on tapping until I got a reasonably close fit. A view of the outside before any cleaning up, and you can see it's fairly well filled. When that's radiused it should be okay. And on the inside the corner's filled up quite well, so I'll be able to round it on the outside without fear of it coming through. Here it is, filed just enough to fully blend it. Quite pleased with that. And after a bit of work with some fine grade paper. Although I intended to wait until the end before polishing up all the brass, I couldn't resist seeing how well this had done, and I'm really quite pleased with it. Taken on a nice polish. For the rest of the top corners, I decided to try brazing them first and then shaping them. And cut the other three plates in rectangular format, so these are formed with a tighter radius. Here I'm trying a different technique. A piece of brazing rod pre-applied. Not exactly production. Seems to work well. To aid with the marking out, I made a small template out of thin aluminium. I'm going to be marking out about 18 of these, so it's worth the effort. And here's the first roughed out version using this method. This is my experimental bottom corner with enough surface to mount a foot. This is the first bottom one roughed out, one of the front feet. The feet themselves I'm printing from TPU. Why am I 3D printing the feet? Well, one, it's excellent material for this. Two, I get exactly the shape I want. And three, well, I want to use as many tools as I can that I own in making this. With all 8 corners made, it's time to start fitting. And this goes in the following sequence. First, polish. Then fitting the corner to the cabinet. This largely involves removing material from the very corner to suit the depression in the middle. I'm using a file as a rasp to do this. It doesn't actually need very much removing at all, but it's very important to get a good fit. Finishing with a light sanding, it's now a fit. I drilled the holes using a centre drill. Not only does it do it in one operation, but it gives a smoother countersink than a drill. The foot is mounted by using 3 screws from the inside, and it's now ready to mount. Put in place, the mounting holes are drilled and the screws fitted. The integral foot is not a feature of the original, but I think it's a much better way of mounting it. And here it is, sitting on its feet. What surprised me is it's completely stable. I thought I might have to print a compensating foot, but no, absolutely solid. First top corner on. I'm using domed countersunk slotted screws for all the furniture because I think it looks a bit traditional. I was going to order 50, but I did a quick count and found that I needed 61, so 100 pack it is. A bit more fettling and all 8 corners are now on, so the main cabinet is finished, ready to start on the drawers. I can't tell you how much self-control it takes not to reach for the Danish oil at this point. No, I'm going to complete it in the white first. Well, that's a lot of the detail work done. I really feel I'm making progress now. Lots more to do though, so see you next time.